field?
You know, I have a friend who's a gay guy who's a power lifter, and he was upset that people were upset that trans women want to compete as women. And I was like, dude, out of all the fucking people, you're a giant ass power lifter, dude. Out of all the giant people or all the people rather that know there's a difference between biological males and females, it should be you. But in that LBGT, whatever the other extra words are,
there's a lot more now.
There's like a plus in there. What's the plus?
It's like I think it's like the equivalent of etc. It's like what is it?
Else?
It's like LGBTQIA, and don't ask me what they all stand for because I don't really know. And then it's the plus at the end.
What could the I be?
Intersex? Is it intersex? Yeah.
Is it?
What's the A?
Asexual.
Okay.
Well, you don't even have a fucking dog in the
I'm actually guessing. I don't know. It could be something else.
But if you're asexual, stay the fuck out of it. How is asexual lumped in there with gay men?
That's because
gay men are the most non-asexual people alive.
Right.
All they're doing is having sex. Like the fact that
if you're asexual, you're like, hey, I'm not even in this conversation, man. Leave me out of it. Is it asexual?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The fact that gay men get lumped in with lesbians is like lesbians and gay men don't necessarily get along that well because of that reason. Gay men are pretty fucking sexual.
Yeah.
And then you get down to asexual, and then it's in the same group.
And gay and lesbian friends of mine don't get on with the whole like trans activism part either. I mean, this is not one, what do you call it? Like monolithic group.
Well, they have to publicly support that because of that whole group, this whole lumping in of everyone together. That's why a lot of gay and lesbians support that. But if a lot of them, if you talk to them, specifically in my conversations with lesbian women, that lesbians have a real hard time with trans women entering into what is, in their mind, feminist spaces.
Sure.
And then running things.
Yeah.
And running things like a man. And running things with threats and with aggression and insults and treating people the way biological men tend to treat people when they're behaving at their worst.
Right.
And that's a real giant issue because if you're a woman and you're a feminist, you're supposed to be ideologically left, maybe even like far left in some of their eyes. And now all of a sudden you get lumped in with something you completely disagree with.
Yeah. It's before I left Congress, I introduced a bill called the Protect Women's Sports Act.
What is a woman?
Exactly. I am a woman.
Well,
just to make that clear.
Congratulations. I could be one too. Don't get cocky.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to put myself out there and disagree wholeheartedly with that, Joe Rogan.
You are a bigot.
I know.
I can't believe it.
I've
Outrageous.
been called worse things.
Yeah.
We introduced this legislation. I introduced it with a Republican friend of mine named Mark Wayne Mullen from Oklahoma. And he's got 6 kids. 3 of them are little girls. All of his kids wrestle. And the bill was very, very simple in upholding the original intent of Title IX. Can you
explain Title IX to people?
Title IX was passed, I think in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a huge landmark piece of legislation because it delineated, it provided a level playing field on the basis of sex, meaning males have opportunities, females deserve those same opportunities, whether it be in sports or in college, and in all in a public funding realm, essentially, where the federal government can impact it. It said there has to be a level playing field and equal opportunity. So people like my mom who grew up, she's very athletic. The only thing that was available to her in high school was cheerleading, and she did it. She was great. But she would have liked the opportunity to be able to compete in other sports. Carla Esparza, I think, is a more modern day example. There were no girls wrestling teams in her high school. She got a scholarship to wrestle in college on a girls' team, and obviously she has gone on to do amazing things. So Title IX was created recognizing that difference on the basis of sex. Democrats have championed Title IX and talked about this great accomplishment in passing this legislation for decades. And that's where it makes no sense. So our legislation basically just said, hey, we want to uphold the original intent of Title IX in recognizing the biological differences between males and females, period. They should not be competing against each other. The legislation didn't move forward for obvious reasons. We were excoriated for having the audacity to uphold the original intent of Title IX. And now what we're seeing with the Biden administration is administratively, not even through passing legislation, they're trying to backdoor this move to change the rules around Title IX to include gender identity rather than having it be on the basis of biological sex, to include gender identity, and threatening schools that they will withhold federal funding unless they adopt this rule change within the Biden administration. Again, not running through Congress, not allowing the people's voices to be heard, but trying to backdoor this through and making threats to publicly funded educational institutions as a means of trying to implement this.
Now, why do you think they're doing that? And is that publicly supported? Because the only thing that makes sense is politically they would do that because that would help them in terms of an election. Why else would they do that?
There are polls that have been done that show not only a majority of Americans disagree with this, but also a majority of Democrats disagree with this. And so why they're doing it, they're catering to those ideological zealots within the Democratic Party and trying to placate them in their radical policies and their extremes, rather than actually standing up and saying, you know what, no, this is science, this is biology, and this is what's right. And oh, by the way, it would also be politically beneficial given where the vast majority of Democrats and Americans are on this.
But it's just wild that no one's pushing back.
Yep.
It's really wild, especially no one in the Democratic Party. They seem like they're captive by the furthest left.
Yeah.